Most people do not have a real jiu-jitsu style. They have a pile of random moves they collected over the years. And then they wonder why their game disappears against someone stronger, faster, or more prepared. While Craig Jones is dangerous for the exact opposite reason, because his jiu-jitsu may look loose and creative, but underneath it, there is a clear structure, a small number of situations he understands deeply, and a constant effort to drag the match back into his world. That is what a style really is, not a favorite move, and not saying that you are a top player or a bottom player, because if your coach asks what your game is, and your answer is, I like passing, then you do not have a style yet. You have a vague preference, while a real style is a connected path from the first contact to the finish, with a preferred place to start, a clear way to force reactions, and a small group of positions that keep feeding into each other. Craig Jones does not need every exchange to look the same, but he does need the opponent to keep making choices inside a game that Craig understands better than they do. And that is the first lesson, because the goal is not to know every move in jiu-jitsu. The goal is to know what you want the other person to do, where you want them to go, and what your next answer will be when they resist. The easiest way to begin building your own style is to stop asking what technique you should learn next, and start asking where you want most of your matches to happen, because one person may want close pressure and slow control, another may want movement and fast attacks, another may want to work from underneath, while another may want to stay on top and force the opponent to carry weight. And those choices must match your body, your age, your injuries, your rules, and the kind of jiu-jitsu you enjoy enough to keep studying. Your body does not completely decide your style, but it changes the odds, because a shorter athlete may be better at closing space, a taller athlete may be better at creating distance, a younger athlete may build around speed, while an older athlete may need more control and less chaos. And the mistake is forcing yourself to copy a game that only works when you move like the person you are watching. This is why copying Craig Jones does not mean copying every move he uses, because the useful part is the way he selects positions, accepts some reactions, refuses others, and turns unusual situations into familiar ones. So when you study a high-level athlete, do not only watch what they finish with, watch what they keep returning to, what they immediately avoid, and what position appears again and again, even when the match begins somewhere else. The finish is normally the most obvious part of a match, but it is rarely the most important part for building your own style, because the real work happens before the finish. In the grips Craig chooses, the space he removes, the reactions he allows, and the small decisions that slowly reduce the opponent's options until the attack becomes available. You should build one strong system before trying to become good everywhere, because people who try to learn everything at once usually become average at many positions and dangerous in none, while the person who studies one area deeply begins to understand timing, pressure, reactions, and small details that cannot be learned from simply knowing more moves. Once that first system becomes reliable, expand into the position beside it, instead of jumping to something unrelated. Because if your best position fails in one common direction, your next study should be the position that appears from that failure. Then you repeat the process until your game becomes a chain, where every defensive reaction pushes the opponent toward another part of your style. This is where many people go wrong, because they may have a good guard, a good pass, and a good submission, but there is no clear path between them, so they are hoping the match somehow gives them the position they want, while a developed style includes the entries, the reactions, and the transitions that connect everything together. Craig's game works because he is not waiting for the perfect position to appear. He is making the opponent choose between two bad directions, and even when the first attack fails, that failure often creates the movement he needed for the next attack, which makes his game feel unpredictable even though he is repeatedly guiding people through familiar situations. If you want to study this directly through Craig Jones, instead of trying to piece everything together from short clips, I put a link below to the Craig Jones instructionals that explain these ideas best. And I would focus less on memorizing every move and more on seeing how he builds choices around a few strong positions. Your main style should also be based on ideas that have already survived against strong opposition, because unusual moves can work and experimentation is important, but you should not spend years building your entire game around something that only works because the other person has never seen it. A trick may work once because the opponent is surprised, while a real system continues working after your training partners know what you are going to do. And this is why studying proven competitors is so useful, because when the same position keeps working against prepared opponents who know it is coming, you know the idea has a high enough ceiling to deserve your time. Once you choose the style, test it honestly against people who know what you are trying to do, because something that only works as a surprise is not a system yet, while something that still creates progress after your training partners have seen it for months is much closer to a real part of your game. Do not throw away a good idea just because your regular partners begin stopping it, because they are learning your timing while you are learning theirs. And sometimes a move feels dead inside your own gym, but works immediately against someone new. So the real question is not whether it worked today. The real question is whether you are creating better reactions, reaching the position more often, and getting closer to the result against people near your level. Building a style will also make you look worse before it makes you better, because every time you add something new, your ego will want to return to the attacks that already work. And the best way through that stage is to start rounds in the exact area you are developing. Lose there, reset, and learn what broke, because focused rounds let you study one problem until the answer becomes automatic. You may fail 20 times while building one part of your game, but those failures are useful when they happen inside the position you are trying to understand, because each one shows you a grip you lost, space you allowed, or reaction you were too slow to recognize. And that is far more valuable than winning another normal round with the same game you already had. There will also be a time when part of your style has to change, because the game that helped you beat beginners may stop working against better people. Your body may no longer tolerate the same pace, or your partners may expose a weakness you cannot repair. And you should not stay loyal to a move only because it used to work. At the same time, you should not abandon a proven idea after one bad week. So first study whether elite athletes still make it work, then look at whether you are reaching the correct position, and only remove it when you have honestly tested the setups, the reactions, and the positions connected to it. Sometimes the move is not the problem. The problem is that it exists alone, because even a strong attack becomes easy to stop when the opponent knows there is no second threat waiting for their defense, and adding one connected option may bring the entire system back to life. This is one reason I built my Patreon around deeper study instead of random technique, because there are now more than 100 guides and concept posts, along with more than 150 breakdowns of professional matches where I explain the choices, reactions, and techniques that create an athlete's style. So if you want help turning isolated moves into a connected game, that full library is linked below. Your style should never become a prison, because Craig Jones has changed, added, removed, and rebuilt parts of his game many times. But the deeper identity stays clear, because he keeps choosing positions that fit the way he thinks, the way he moves, and the reactions he wants. That is the real goal. Not to become a copy of Craig Jones, but to use proven ideas. Choose the ones that fit you, connect them to what you already do, and test them until your game stops feeling like a collection of moves and begins feeling like one clear system. When you finally develop a real style, Jiu-Jitsu starts to feel simpler. Not because there are fewer possible situations, but because you no longer need to chase all of them. You know where you want the match to happen. You know what reactions you want to create. And even when the opponent stops your first attack, they may already be moving directly into your second one. If this helped you understand how to build your own Jiu-Jitsu style, subscribe for more concepts, athlete studies, and deeper Jiu-Jitsu analysis. And check the links in the description and pinned comment for the Craig Jones instructionals and my Patreon.